Okay, hello Minecrafters and Infotechers. Got a new one here for you. Let's have something really fun today. Let's blow things up. And if there's anything that's popular on YouTube, it's videos about things being blown up. Now, just I guess to crush some expectations here, and or maybe to make some poor FBI guy feel sad. This isn't going to be about real-world explosives. I don't fool around with those. I like my fingers and hands and other parts attached to my body, so I don't mess with explosives in the real world. This is just Minecraft, so it's a virtual world. We can make all kinds of fun stuff, and we can blow things up, even with nukes if we feel like it. So let's get into making the boom booms. So there's several different types here. You've got stick dynamite, and you can make the sticky versions to stick to walls and such. There's a Steve Karts version too. I haven't really messed with it. You can get some dynamite remotes and some other fun stuff. Again, looks like that's probably part of Steve's Karts. That's part of Industrial Craft here. But anyway, so this stuff here, you just need glycerol trinitrate, which is pretty simple to make. You're simply going to need a chemical reactor, water, carbon dust, and nitrogen. Nitrogen you can spin out of the air. There's a few things that you can break down to get nitrogen, but they're not too common. So most of the time your nitrogen is going to come from doing distilling on air or centrifuging air. Again, it's up to you how to do it and what the most. I'll let you work out what the most efficient way to do that is. Think of it as a bit of an exercise. Part of the fun of the game is exploring. So, anyway, the glycerol trinitrate can be filled up into a chemical reactor, and you just add paper and string. So let's get a little of that going here. So I'll get 3 of these. I've got some glycerol trinitrate already made, ready to go. I'll fill that guy up. Grab some paper and string. And there you go. Now where you keep your explosives, that's up to you. I'm very paranoid about them, having nearly blown my base to smithereens in the past. So I tend to put them in this chest outside here. Anything that could go boom, or just garbage I don't tend to use a whole lot of. A lot of farming stuff out here too, but you might want to put a chest that's kind of away from anything important. That way if you do something stupid, either picking it up or putting it in, you're not going to, lose your entire base. A detonation here, for example, could start a chain reaction among these machines, and the higher tier machines make bigger explosions when they go up, so it's quite easy to have a chain reaction. One thing I will point up is the /backup. That is, if you're going to be messing with anything dangerous in the game, that's usually a good thing to do right before you do that dangerous thing. That way, if you have a accident, it's not a complete tragedy and you don't lose too much work. It looks like it saves every 30 minutes or so. I have actually seen sometimes the game seems to maybe not follow that as precisely as I'd like it to. And so, there's our dynamite. Oh yes, dynamite comes out 16 at a time. So unless you've got a way to buffer those straight up into a chest, in my case I tend to have this hooked up to things. Sorry, that's assembler. The chemical reactor, I tend to have it hooked up to liquid pipes. So I don't tend to I just tend to manually pull this stuff out. Here we've made 4. 4 dynamite usually isn't too useful. Dynamite seems to be best at 8s unless you're just throwing it around. In that case, you're probably better off to do a run of 6 at a time. Then you'll get useful amounts. I'm going to be very careful with the dynamite here. So I have dropped it before and then found that when I tried to pick it up, I set it off. Actually, I think what I ended up doing is planting it in the ground. I tried to pick it back up, and then I lit it. So you can be surprised, rather. You can get some rather nasty surprises from this stuff. The main use for the stick dynamite is going to be for your seismic prospector. It's not too good in the implosion compressor, which I've done a video on, because it just, you have to use an awful lot of it to get any real good effect. So you're actually better off to stick with TNT, which is what I'm going to get to next here. So while that thing does its trick, I'm going to go over here. Oh, there it is. Go over here, and I'm going to grab my toluene. Now, toluene, where did it go? Oh, there it is. I hate it when it seems to go one direction and winds up somewhere else. That happens to me. That's been happening a lot to me lately. Alright, so toluene. Let's go to that. So, TNT, trinitrotoluene. There's different ways to make it. Actually, let's go into the toluene part of it first. We need the gelled toluene to start with. You can put that in a fluid solidifier with a ball mold, and you get that out. So 100 of those equals one of these. When you get to when you're in the lower tier machines, this is what you're stuck with. But when you get to the higher tier machines, you need at least a high voltage. You'll notice this is more than 128 EU over T, so you cannot use the advanced chemical reactor. You have to use the advanced chemical reactor 2 or better. So in this case, you're going to need some sugar. So if you remember all that sugar cane that you likely planted for paper early in the game, if you left that planted in the ground, good for you. You're going to need that. You're going to want some sugar and lots of it. And with that, and you're also going to want to sacrifice some of your polyethylene. By the time you get to your high voltage machinery, you're pretty adept at making polyethylene. You'll probably have quite a bit of it around. So you might have even had some where you had a little bit left over. Sometimes when you're making the polyethylene, you will only get 72 instead of 144, and you can't make a whole plate or ingot out of it. And in that case, what I'll usually do is knock them out as nuggets and then grind those up, and I'll keep them for making, boom booms. And that's what we're going to do over here. So I've got to go ahead and just dump the whole thing in here. There'll probably be a little bit left over to be thrown away. It's not that big of a tragedy to lose toluene. It's a little bit of a pain to make early in the game. When you get the oil cracking, or not the oil cracking, the big distillery, the multi-block distillery, you're going to be swimming in toluene. Especially if you have heavy oil, which is I seem to have a lot of heavy oil in this game. So anyway, your toluene's here. So what you want to do is just throw your sugar in, throw that in, and let it get to work. And it's not too expensive. It's like it takes about 4 nitrodiesel per second or so, maybe 8. And every half second it eats up 4 nitrodiesel. Nitrodiesel's pretty easy to make. I do have a machine. I have a video with a machine on how to make nitrodiesel, so go ahead and poke through my videos, take a look for it. I think it's called Nitrodiesel Factory. Maybe I'll see if I can put a link in the description. Here, as you can see, we're making lots and lots and lots of gelled toluene. Now the gelled toluene, all you need to do is add some sulfuric acid, and you're going to get TNT. You can do that with the basic chemical reactor. The advanced will be obviously faster. Sulfuric acid you will probably be swimming in by now. I will cover that real quickly too. I have some floating around here somewhere. Here it is. I actually put together a chemical reactor, basic chemical reactor, just to make that stuff. All it needs is water, so I have a water supply going in, and you will build up tons and tons of this hydric sulfide as you use oil, as you make oil, as you make even what was it, the naphtha. As you make that stuff, you're going to need to take the sulfur out of it, and you end up with tons of this hydric sulfide. Sometimes it refers to it as hydrogen sulfide too, but generally it's called hydric sulfide in this game. And you just dump that in here, and it will be made into sulfuric acid, and you will have more sulfuric acid than you know what to do with. I've actually gotten to the point where I'm actually making some into batteries, for example, to handle that. But let's stick to the topic here, and we're going to take our gel toluene. Let me let this guy finish up the last bit of the dynamite here. Then I'm going to go stick this in my chest outside. Paranoid as I am about this stuff. Yeah, dynamite's one of the nice ones where you can get a nice even amount of useful material. Do it in like 6, or maybe do it in 12 if you want all 16s. But let me carefully put these in here. I'll get the powder barrels here in a moment. Let's see. I need cells. I think 8, because you're going to get 4 per. So we're going to get 8 sulfuric acid. Fun stuff. Let's put it in our reactor here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Put my guys away there. And making TNT. I'm mainly making this for my this is mainly for my implosion compressor. This isn't so good. This is good for blowing away hills, I suppose, if you don't want if you just have a hill you don't care about. But if you're wanting to mine things, if you're wanting to use the TNT to blast a whole section of ore loose, this will actually destroy it. But there is another cousin of this called industrial TNT, which I guess is it's supposed to be more of a shaped charge. You need a high voltage machine to make it. 480 EU over T. This stuff is no joke to make because of the amount of electricity involved, or the amount of, or the caliber of machinery. You also have to make the nitration mixture. You have sulfuric acid, but you have to mix that with nitric acid to make the nitration mixture. So and the nitric acid, you're going to have to make nitrogen dioxide and mix that with oxygen and water to get it. You'll make lots of nitric acid out of that, but well, you're going to get the same amount of nitric acid per nitrogen dioxide. So we're getting into a little bit of the chemistry here. Now, I don't think this is actually, the way you would really make TNT. Did I do something wrong here? 32 of those. I probably did right. You know what? It took 4 of those. Okay, well, I'm going to have a little excess sulfuric acid, but that's okay. Because I'm planning to make a jolly big load of this stuff. And if I have to plunge some of the sulfuric acid out, I'm not going to cry a river because it's such a easy to get resource. I'm going to macerate a little plastic here. Easy enough to do. Sacrifice a little of your plastic. Good efficient use of your toluene here. Again, when you get the high-powered machine, you're going to need the Advanced Chemical Reactor 2 to make the industrial TNT, as well as making the gelled toluene in a more, shall we say, more efficient way. Yeah, I don't think the chemistry here is exactly, normal, because I think they kind of want to not run afoul of teaching people to make real explosives. So they kind of fudge the recipes a little bit. You're using toluene, but you're doing unusual steps that you wouldn't do in the real world to make this stuff. At least I don't think so. I don't know much about making explosives, so maybe, I don't know what I'm talking about. But again, I tend to leave that kind of stuff to the licensed experts who know what they're doing and want to live the life of danger. I have some gelled toluene out here. I don't think this stuff will blow up on its own, but I'm even paranoid enough to keep the spare toluene out in the out in the shed, so to speak. I guess you could make a little explosive shed if you want to be, you want to make it look kind of cool. That's all I've got to really say about these guys. The ITNT, I believe I've never actually tried it. I haven't really done much with it yet, but it is more efficient in your blasting in your implosion compressor. There are some things that can only be made with ITNT because it's meant to be a shaped charge. Nukes are made with this stuff that have to use it because again it's supposed to be more of a shaped charge. And then finally, let's see, nuclear devices. Making a nuke. You're going to have a lot of neutron reflectors. So they add a few things in here. Thought there was a way to make them out of... no, it's just advanced machine casing. They got a basic machine casing. It's just iron. Steel. Bit of carbon plate, which you're going to need the autoclave for. And you'll need a little bit of platinum to make that as well. These advanced circuits aren't too hard to make. The neutron reflectors, double beryllium plates. You're going to have to get into the fun stuff like beryllium, tungsten carbide. Beryllium's probably easier to get early on. Tungsten carbide is very much a mid to late game animal. So the beryllium, probably not too hard to make. There's beryllium, finding it though is a little bit more of a thing. You're going to have to find the ore that has good amounts of beryllium in it. But I guess you can make a nuke. But I'm not sure what you can do with this guy. I mean, because I don't see any nuclear material in here. There's neutron reflectors and some weird advanced machine casing. So I'm not really sure what they're blowing up here. I thought there was another... Nuclear reactor. Like I said, I haven't really played with the nuclear bombs in this game, so I'm not really quite sure how you would make one of those. I'm sure there is a way to make one. I seem to remember making one in the playing around with creative. I created nukes just to see what they would do and had a lot of fun with those. I thought there was some kind of a nuclear bomb. And it had this weird thing where you would arrange certain materials in it, and like, for example, I think plutonium would make one hell of a bomb. But I may be wrong. But let's move on from that. I remember the ITNT being used in that as well. Maybe the book will talk about it when you get deep enough into the nuclear age. But right now, I'm not really at the level I can make that kind of fun explosive. So let's see, the powder barrels. This is a pretty low-grade explosive. Here you just use string, oak planks, and gunpowder. And you can use this in your implosion compressor, but it takes an awful lot of it. It might be more useful in your seismic device, which I believe. Even then, it still takes a number of these guys. It says I need dynamite, glycerol, TNT, I2 TNT. Actually, I don't even believe you can use the powder barrels here. So there's probably other uses for them. Probably mostly in the implosion compressor. There you go. It can be useful for making your compressed iron early on, fairly cheaply. In fact, I would use this instead of the ITNT, especially given the number. So if you're doing the Galactic Craft Core stuff, which I definitely plan to do, I actually think I'm going to start using powder barrels, simply because I am swimming in gunpowder. Given the number of creepers you're going to go out and murder while exploring and putting caves together. And you've got these little ender minis who like to kill them too. So a lot of times I'll find piles of it laying around where these guys have been exploring. Especially if you have an area with zombies. The zombies will pick it up and preserve this stuff for a while so it doesn't just disappear. But you'll find plenty of gunpowder. You can also make it though. So let's go into that real quick too. It's because I know how to make the gunpowder. So coal, sulfur, and saltpeter, also known as KNO3, potassium nitrate. The potassium nitrate is a little harder to find, but you can make it. And you can just get some potassium dust. You can get plenty of potassium from various ores. You'll probably be building this stuff up and wondering, what the hell do I do with it? Well, you can mix that with some oxygen and nitrogen, and you'll get 5 saltpeter. It's kind of expensive. I don't know if I'd want to use shapeless crafting to do that, because I don't think these guys are going to survive. You might get the empty ones back, you might not. I tend to prefer using a chemical machine for something like that. Soul sand. You can get it out of soul sand. Okay, so you can centrifuge soul sand, and eventually you'll get the small piles. So you get an 80% chance of it, so that's not too bad. You can get oil out of those too. I did not know this. for 10 seconds worth. Interesting. I found it in the Nether before, I think. You know, here's an interesting thing. In this game, as well as the other one I've played, I've explored quite a bit, and I have yet to find a desert. I believe this is stuff that occurs naturally in desert areas, so I have yet to find a desert biome. I don't know if they exist in Infotech or not. Maybe they've turned the deserts off, but I've seen snow, I've seen mountains, I've seen this purple crap that's Thaumcraft taint. Plenty of forests and plains, swamps, oceans, but so far I've yet to actually run into a desert. So maybe I'll do some more exploring when next time I get bored. Tired of machinery, I'll go exploring and see if I can find it. That's about all I got for making boom booms. As for setting them off, I'm not going to waste your time with a video on that. You'll probably have plenty of fun doing that yourself. The industrial TNT, I think, can actually knock ore down in a way that doesn't destroy it. And so, other than that, that's pretty much all you can do with this stuff. Blow things up, implode things. Basically, have a good time. That's all I got. Thank you for watching.